It's a Sunday. That means that it is time for an AEW Collision review here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Hello, it's me, Mr. Warren Hayes, and I hope you are having a lovely weekend, and I hope that I will add a little ingredient to your weekend to continue on that good momentum you have. Or if your weekend is stinking it up, if your weekend is just the pits, well, I hope that I can sprinkle some magic fairy dust on it to make it, sail into the air off to Neverland or something. Nice to see you all. We're already in December. Jesus. This is my first thing of December that I am officially. No. That's not true. I did a members stream, members only stream on Friday. So it's not the first thing that I've done in December, but it's the first public thing that I've done. If you want to join these members only streams, you know what to do. You join the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Otherwise, you can also listen to all of this on your favorite podcast application, and wherever you're listening to right now. I appreciate the patronage tremendously. Thank you very much. Leave a like on the YouTube side of things, or a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and a 5-star rating on Spotify. You can do both. Unless you don't have Apple Podcasts, then that would be a little hard. Unless you don't have Spotify, then that would also be a little hard. But it's also available on multiple podcasting platforms as well. So you can just find the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, a pro wrestling podcast, just about everywhere. So we are going to be talking about the December 2nd. I'm recording this on December 3rd. We're going to be talking about the December 2nd edition of AEW Collision, which happened in Erie, Pennsylvania at the Erie Insurance Arena. Distributed 2,258 tickets, according to WrestleTix. And that's not good. I mean, this is the ongoing story of AEW attendance not being good in general, but this is particularly not good in this circumstance of it being not good. Tony Khan might hit the news and say, not Tony Khan, I apologize. Dave Meltzer may be hitting hitting the ground running and saying, AEW, the revenue is up 67%. They're on the uptick to be finally profitable next year, and so on and so forth. And people don't understand why they think there's only doom and gloom scenarios. And here's the things: I don't think AEW is in a bad position to fail. I don't think AEW is going to fail out. I think it's doing nonetheless tremendous for a promotion which is entering its 5th year of existence. It's just blowing everyone's expectations out of the water. It is a successful promotion, but you can't sit here and look at the past 7 months of this company and say attendance is great and the consumer metrics are great. No, they're not. And you can sit here and tell me, 67% revenue, so on and so forth. If you have the biggest pro wrestling gate, in the history of pro wrestling, I believe, right? I think they have the record. Look, I've lost track of all of this at this point. And, thankfully that was there to boost your revenue and bring that up. And they're going to repeat it, sure, next year. A lot of people said, oh, see, the company's fine. But in your domestic market for your television tapings on a weekly basis, where you are putting road crews and talent out onto the road, I should say, twice a week for 52 weeks of a year, these numbers are not good. And thank God they did have Wembley, because there's no doorbusters. No one is at each other's throats trying to get tickets for AEW, as unlike it was at a certain time in its history. Like, it's fascinating to me that people are pointing at this and are going, see, 67% in revenue, because they're doing their yearly event, and that's fine, by the way. I don't have an issue with it. We just have to be logical about it. We just have to be clear visioned about it. Thank goodness they had Wembley, and Wembley was a roaring success, because that's probably how they can justify such a huge uptake in revenue, because everywhere else, they're in attendance, they're down. And I mean down. Now, Erie, Pennsylvania, the Erie Insurance Arena, okay? I will give you this, it is not the biggest basketball arena in the country. In fact, it's not a big arena at all. It is like for the attendance, the capacity for the arena, they say 9,360 for a concert, right? And then like 6,716 for hockey, 6,562 for indoor football, so you're adding more floor seats, 6,982 for basketball. So it's a little higher than that. The capacity for a concert, when they start opening up the floor, can go up to 9,360. So yes, it's not a huge arena. We're not looking at it's not as if they went to the United Center and failed to draw 3,000 people in it. That's a fucking disaster. But this is still consistent with what we're seeing, where they're filling out a third, a fourth of the arenas that they go to. It's still consistent. If they can't manage to do 2,500 distributed for this show in an arena of 9,000, let's say a 9,000 capacity. Let's just give ourselves a low end rounded number. It's not good, folks. It's consistent with what they're doing, and what they're doing is poor. The attendance is not good. Now, I want to make myself clear. I think you can go back and listen to every bit of audio I have ever done where I talk about AEW's attendance, whether it be on the MrWarrenHayes show proper, whether it be on the Dynamite reviews or on the Collision reviews. I never say this is a sign that AEW is going to die. I'm not doom and glooming scenarios here. But you have to call what you're observing. And what you're observing right now is that in your main market, look, they're coming to my part of the woods, Montreal, in a couple of days. We're doing 5,000 some tickets, right? Let me see what we got so far. I got the WrestleTix pulled up here. Not even. We're at fourth. The last update for WrestleTix was on November 29th. So it has been a couple of days, to be fair. And WrestleTix will probably update this in the next couple of days. But as it stands right now on Sunday, we're still 1,000 short, a little less than 1,000 short, let's say 900 short of getting 5,000 people into the Bell Center. And this is on Wednesday. On Tuesday for Collision, it's even worse. 2,353 tickets distributed, and they're coming into my neck of the woods. And these are usually better showings because these are new new markets. We usually do better, but these are not good, and it's the trend continues for these shows to not be good as far as attendance goes. The Collision let me see here. The Collision on December 16 in Garland, Texas at the Curtis Culwell Center. 1,839 tickets. The Dynamite in Oklahoma City, 3,200. San Antonio on December 23rd on the day before Christmas Eve, 2,177. Then the Dynamite on December 27th, the Dynamite Go Home for World's End, 2,364, and World's End still at 6,818. Like, we're not. I understand that a lot of you can be super optimistic and say, look, thank you. 67%. You can all. Everything's going to, and it is a good sign. And I've never said that because AEW wasn't making money and that these huge events that it's putting on aren't being immensely successful for them. But observably, the local market, your home base, the United States of America, throw in Canada if you want, is not doing great business numbers. There's not that many people showing up, and we're not seeing an uptick in this trend. Not with these numbers till the end of the year, and people are starting to get on vacation and buy gifts and whatnot. What are we doing here? No one's giving AEW tickets this year? Anywho, just want to put that, it's important to just keep a level head here. And I've never said that AEW was going to disappear, that the attendance was dire to the point that the company was going to die. But these are not good figures, and it can have an impact on what it's going to be doing moving forward. I mean, the joke right now is that, CM Punk with his, there a lot of things being said about his terrible promo on Raw last Monday, which I unfortunately didn't get a chance to talk about on the show this week because I recorded on Monday. Maybe I'll talk about it on this week. But his what was one of the good memes that came out of there is that CM Punk's promo on Monday was not very good because suddenly there were people facing him on hard cam side, which is funny and also sad at the same time. So I don't know what to tell you. We'll see how all this goes, but I do not know what to tell you at this point. If you want to just, clap your hands and say AEW is doing fantastic work, look, 67% growth in business trends, in revenue, excuse me. If that's all you need and you're content and you don't want to push any further, that's fine. But observably, we're having trouble, getting 3,000 people into arenas till the end of the year. That's not a hot product. That's not a good sign. Anyway, just to give you a point of comparison when it comes to the Erie Insurance Arena, what did I say? 2,258 tickets distributed. WWE came to this very arena, and this was the first time, by the way, AEW came to this market. This is the first time they came to Erie, Pennsylvania. And WWE came to this arena in January 21st for a house show on a Saturday night. 3,256 distributed. Not a TV taping, a house show. 3,256 for a house show. As a point of comparison. Let's talk about the Continental Classic that we were entertained with. Very much so this Saturday. Look, when I did whatever preview I was able to muster together because we didn't have much information leading into the start of the tournament, I said, well, once we got the reveals and whatnot, I told you, it came out of my mouth. It's like, Blue League will probably be the one. That will likely be the one of the two blocks, leagues. Let's use the proper nomenclature, Warren. Blocks is for the other guys. This is for these guys. Leagues are for these guys. The Blue League was the one to keep your eye on, where I thought the potential for highest the highest potential for great matches was. And I think Objectively, I think we got our best match of the tournament so far. I think we got a true consensus anyway over the great match. I feel I sent out some feelers and in my haunts and people chit-chatting. I feel like Eddie Kingston and Danielson is pretty much regarded right now as the great match of this tournament. This is the one. I'm still very high on Jay White and Swerve, which I thought was the first great match, but I felt like that one was a little more split down the middle. I don't think anyone thought it sucked. I don't think anyone thought it was bad. I thought a lot of people thought it was very good, but not great. I thought it was great. I gave it, 4.25, if I'm not mistaken. I love the Gold League this week. I love the Blue League more this week. And I thought now it's starting to feel like something special. Now we're starting to hit that other gear. Because don't forget, and this is something I've been hammering, this is what I've been hammering home. If you want this tournament to feel special, if you want fans to get excited about it, if you want people to clamor for it next year and get excited about it, these matches have to feel special. They have to be on a next level. They have to be above your typical AEW fare. 3.25 matches, 3-star, 3.25 matches are not going to cut it here. You need the big stuff. You need things that are going to tear the house down. That's how the G1 became significant for fans and turns into this monumental event, because there was a whole stretch of the G1 where it was essentially that. You'd sit down and you wouldn't have time to breathe between matches being so great on the same card multiple times. People tearing down the house at every street corner. So that's still what we need to do. Now, this was not like a top to bottom, holy shit, everything is tearing the house down. Tournament, evening, block, night, whatever, night 4 of the Continental Classic, I guess. But this was nonetheless tremendous and just great stuff from top to bottom. And I think this is the first real night of Blue League, of league action, I should say, where everything felt special, everything felt great. Like I said, and there's, on top of that, there's one truly great match to come out of it. So I have no issues with this so far. And I think there's a lot of intrigue in this. I think there's a lot of intrigue already in the Blue League as well. First of all, let's talk about the matches. The show opened up with Brody King defeating Claudio Castagnoli, which, listen, I mean, this is a story they're going to tell here very clearly, of Brody King being the upset king, right? Where I think a lot of people probably poo-pooed him away. And myself, guilty, where it's like, oh, Brody, my thought was Brody's going to nail he's going to get a couple of wins, but he's not going to be dominant. He's not going to be the guy on top. It's just going to be, he'll probably finish with a fairly even score. Tournament's not done yet. We still have time to go down this path, but when Brody King defeats two favorites in this tournament, Eddie Kingston, because of his championships and his titles, that's a big deal, and Claudio, who is absolutely in final boss mode and was, this was a surprise. I was expecting Claudio to win, but Brody is now leading Blue League at 6 points. And I love the match. I gave it 3.75 stars. It's a strength fight between the two, and two different types of strength, right? Where Brody he's brute force, and Claudio was all about, conditioning, finesse, right? It's two really strong guys, but two different types of of power, two different types of strength, you know, and they slam into each other. They look like action figures being just rammed into each other. Castagnoli body slams King, but King whips him over the rail and suplexes him back onto the floor, onto ringside, which was pretty cool. Claudio, back in the ring, gets an explosive series of uppercuts, which I thought was tremendous. And he was just uppercut after uppercut. And I'm like, yeah, okay. This is the kind of shit you want to see, right? Gets a tremendous pop-up uppercut on Brody King as well. And then, you know, he had tried to do the big swing, got a little aborted, but he pulled it off this time, right into a sharpshooter. Brody tries to reach he eventually does reach the ropes, despite Claudio, you know, clasping his arm. Just some great, gritty stuff, you know, just basic, well thought out, well planned out wrestling here. Cannonball senton by Brody, and by Brody, covers Claudio, who kicks out at one. Claudio does a DVD, covers, and King kicks out at one. And then Brody King follows up with a pile driver. Gonzo bomb, gets the win. Just tremendous stuff. And a surprise victory here for a surprise victory for Claudio on top of that. So, I mean, what more do you want at this point? This was tremendous and a great way to open the show. You know, the Continental Classic did a lot of the heavy lifting on this episode of Collision, not gonna lie. Next we had Andrade El Idolo defeating Daniel Garcia. Andrade, in his first Blue League match, gets on the board with 3 points. I like this. I like this quite a bit as well. I thought this was tremendously good. Great back and forth between the two. Felt it was a very scrappy little match. Scrappy. And then it was scrappy. And some good creative stuff here as well. Where I like the Andrade went for the Three Amigos, right? And it was interrupted with a sleeper hold by Garcia. So then they climb the ropes. Well, when I say they, I mean Andrade climbs the ropes with Garcia on his back, and he climbs to the top rope. Well, he not to the top rope. They mess around, and then Andrade does a superplex, and then finishes off the Three Amigos there. And then Garcia follows up with a Dragon Tamer. He rolls out of it, but Andrade El Idolo reverses into the Hammerlock DDT for the win. And I thought this was very good. You know, I think my only gripe here was my continued bemusement at the former JAS guys being on Daniel Garcia's case for dancing when they're supposed to be the sports entertainers. You know, it's like, if anything, this is your fault. You know, that's one thing that I'm still a little bemused at. And this was coming across because Daddy Magic was on commentary, and when they made it very clear, it's like, you can join us on commentary, but you can't interfere, or else you're going to be fired, pals. I thought this was very good as well. Tremendous stuff. 3 3/4 stars from me. Again on this one. I really liked the final stretch. I thought the final stretch was tremendous here. So Garcia down in the dumps a little bit, but that's all right. And finally, the main event, which, goddamn, this was great. Bryan Danielson defeating Eddie Kingston. Chops and grit and brutality and just, yeah. Eddie is living he truly is living his King's Road dream here. Like, I think that after this, there might be a time where Eddie Kingston is going to just self-reflect and say, what else have I got to do? I've lived my dream. I fought my heroes. I wrestled in Corkin. And I get into the ring with my contemporaries in North America. I get with Bryan Danielson, and I'm like, do you want to do a fight? And Danielson says, yeah, let's fight. And they do a fucking AJPW 1995 slugfest. And the guy's got to be living his dream right now. There's going to be a time where it's going to be like, I can't do this anymore, but I've done it all. So, I'll head on down that old dusty trail into the horizon. But they're just chopping off at each other to begin with. And the big game changer was Eddie Kingston landing a suplex on the floor on Danielson. That gave him finally some leeway. And he beats Danielson up on the floor. Back in the ring, Danielson hits a missile drop kick. And then there's this sequence with the label lock where Danielson feels a little awkward trying to lock it on. They're saying, oh, it's because of the eye patch, because he's got the whole eye protection gimmick on. Pirate Danielson is back. So they say, oh yeah, trying to sell that Danielson might be a little off his game here because he has no depth of field. This guy. He doesn't have any depth to what he's doing because he can't see right. There's some strikes and Eddie rolls out of it and he's striking Danielson while he's in a mounted position. It's just great shit. Strikes and Eddie just brushing it off and saying, "Come on, give me more." And the crowd's into it. I'm into it. Danielson drops Kingston with a backdrop driver 5 minutes to the end of the tournament. This is eventually going to, someone is eventually going to go the full 20 here. Eventually. It has to happen. Because they started doing this. 15 minutes gone by, 5 minutes left. That's where Dasha jumped in. That's where, whatever the fuck, Yapper guy, Dapper Yapper dude. Whatever the fuck. He did that on Wednesday as well, right? Where they start counting down the 5 minutes. So they're teasing something. Someone's going to go to a draw in this tournament. They're setting this up tremendously. And it's good that they're doing it in matches that aren't ending in draws. So that if they ever do, because remember they didn't do it the 2 weeks, the 2 weeks ago on Dynamite or on Collision, but they did it at during Jay White and Swerve. And we all were like, oh shit, okay, this one's going to a draw because they're calling time all of a sudden on this one, but they didn't do it. And they didn't do it here as well. So someone's going to a draw at some point, which is tremendous, don't get me wrong. Anyway, this was great. Danielson does some stomping. Eddie Kingston won't stay down. He stays defiant to the very end until he eats a Basaiku knee right in the mush. Danielson gets 3 points, so he, in his first match, is up on the board as well. Danielson celebrates around the audience with fans, and he gets an Eddie is a bum sign, right? And he takes it and he's pointing it at the camera, and he doesn't tear it apart or go to show some respect to Eddie. Gets in the ring and he tears it apart. No. He shows it to Eddie as Eddie's looking up at the lights, and he tosses it on Eddie. Look, he said on Wednesday, I will not be humble. Whether it's in defeat or victory, I will not be humble. And there you go. This is the Bryan Danielson you want. This is the American Dragon. This rules. So the standings right now for Blue League, we have Brody King. Now, Blue League is a little different than Gold League because for some reason we're not doing every collision with 3 league matches. Sometimes there's 2. Let me try to say that again. On the first collision for Blue League, there was only 2 matches. Tonight there were 3, and now we're going back this week for 2 for the collision in Montreal. So the standings right now, Brody King, 2 matches in, is at 6 points. So he's the de facto leader. He's He's one of only three guys who's had, one of only four guys, I should say, who's had two matches. So he is absolutely in the lead right now. Danielson and Andrade come in at second place for 3 points with one match each in. Claudio Castagnoli is 1-1. So he has 3 points. So he has 2 matches in. I'd put him in third position. And running out the bottom, Eddie Kingston and Dan Garcia, both with 2 losses, both with 0 points. Now, there's a couple of ways you can still go here, right? And I think this has a lot of potential for some great drama moving forward, with Brody King being a spoiler, being absolutely the bracket buster at this point. So he can continue down his tear. Look at who he's got left. Like, honestly, look at who he has left, right? He's got Danielson, which is the one that could spell the most trouble for him. But Andrade and Garcia, like, at this point, you can assume he's going to beat Garcia. He probably stands a chance, a very good chance against Andrade. Danielson is the only one that really might cause a wrinkle here, right? So you can definitely continue down this story that he's the dominant figure here. Eddie could be poised right now for the big comeback. He could be absolutely poised for the come from behind, the losing record, the Naito run, essentially. There you go. If you watch the G1 Climax, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He could have the Naito run, where suddenly he's just like winning all his matches, and if he might not win the block, but he might qualify for the playoffs, because everything seems to point to there being playoffs between the top 2 guys of both leagues, or the top 4 guys of both leagues, I should say, to lead us to the finals. I could be wrong, but I'm convinced that this is where we're going, and I feel like they've mentioned it, and look, it's on record and on the Wikipedia page as well. The 2 group winners advance to the top 2 wrestlers in each group progress to the league finals on the 27 December edition of Dynamite. See, we haven't been making this up. It's on the record. Anyway, so, this is looking pretty interesting. I'm excited to see how this is going to go. And I think there's still room for that. I don't think Danielson is going to book himself into a position to win this. I think he's going to put him, because at the same time, he can't wrestle too much. He's got such an important match for New Japan on January 4th. Like, he's not going to do it on purpose to over wrestle. So maybe Danielson will come in screaming and might eat some shit. I wouldn't be surprised if Eddie still manages to qualify. I wouldn't be surprised. But Brody right now, he's got the tiebreaker over Claudio and Eddie. So Eddie could, let's say Brody King loses 2 matches and Eddie wins the next 3. The come from behind thing. Well, they're tied, right? They're tied. So there might, but Brody has the tiebreaker. I don't know. But I would not be surprised if they're doing this with Eddie, because this is the kind of story in which Eddie excels, and this is where the fans love Eddie, when he's got everything to prove. He's the underdog. He's the guy that always comes up short. Never wins the big one. He's won the big one twice this year. I don't know if it's still like, he's won. He won the strong openweight title. He won the Ring of Honor World title. Is this another thing that he has to overcome adversity, overcome himself? That's kind of how you felt in his promo last week, leading into this, where it's like, he starts doubting himself, his injuries, what am I doing here, and all that. That's classic Kingston. I don't know. Be interesting to see how this goes. I think it's clear at this point that Dan Garcia is not going to be making that much of an impact. But it's still an interesting field to see how this is how this might go. To see how this is going to go. I think it's still very interesting. There's a lot of great possibilities here. So next week on Collision, we're going to have 2 Blue League matches, which are going to be taped on December 5th in Montreal on a Tuesday. Don't forget. Eddie Kingston versus Claudio. We're going to get that rematch. And Danielson versus Andrade, which I'm sure Andrade will finally be happy to be in a high-profile match, won't he? And then on Dynamite this week, we've got Swerve versus Mark Briscoe, Jay White versus Jay Lethal, and the big one I think everyone is really excited to see, Jon Moxley versus Roosh. So that's where we're at right now as far as the Blue League of the Continental Classic goes. Very good. Very good one. I enjoyed it. And I was given I gave the main event 4.5. I liked it that much. I thought it was tremendous. I really, really liked it. That's the bar. And frankly, that's what we should be getting. We should be having Tony Khan telling these guys every night, go steal the show. Every time. There shouldn't be anyone being held back here. Just every match should be, go steal the show. Should we talk about the rest of the card? Darling, I think we should. That's what we're here for. So we had the cold open promos from everyone involved in the tournament on Saturday, which is always cool. Then we had Claudio versus Brody King. Then we got the Jon Moxley promo that we've already seen from social media. We talked about it on the Dynamite review. We don't need to rehash that. Abadon defeated Kiera Hogan. It was okay. Nothing exceptional. There's nothing that blew my mind. It's just people going through the motions of a wrestling match. And I'm like, okay. Abadon getting work outside of a spooky Halloween show. What do you want from me? Kiera Hogan, doing her best babyface stuff, and but this was flat. It wasn't, can't say this was good. It was all right. It was passable, acceptable. And after the match, Julia Hart, the lights go off. They come back on, and Julia Hart is in the ring with the winner in Abadon. And Julia Hart does not seem phased by Abadon. Okie dokie, let's keep this going. I got nothing here. Samoa Joe is being interviewed backstage. Then Roderick Strong arrives with the Kingdom. Strong said that for the match that he has with Max this Wednesday is just a setup, and his goons are just going to beat the crap out of you, Samoa Joe. Oh, and he's doing Samoa, the Adam thing, and all of this is really annoying. And because basically Roderick Strong thinks that the devil is Max, right? And he asks him, Joe, are you going to listen to me? And something about friends by proxy, and Joe just scoffs and walks off, which is how I feel in regards to this. So thank you, Samoa Joe. Can't wait for you to be my world champion. Then we get Garcia versus Andrade. We already talked about that. Then after that, we get a promo by Willie Mack standing up for AR Fox, challenging Wardlow to a match on Dynamite. Willie Mack. And he said the reason for this is, I've won multiple, AR Fox is my friend, and I've won multiple tag team titles with him and across different promotions. And I'm like, I was trying to remember. I even went and checked out on Cage Match, and I was like the only thing I remembered was him and AR Fox and Swerve holding Killshot and Dante Fox and the Mac, right? Wasn't that how he was called? The Mac. Holding the trios titles in Lucha Underground. And other than that, like, I didn't see anything. It's not anyway. Look, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's always good to see Willie Mack on TV. Malakai Black. No, excuse me, the Kingdom. Excuse me. Jumped the thing here. Understandably so. Matt Taven and Mike Bennett defeated the Iron Savages. This all starts with Roderick Strong cutting a promo as he's being pushed down the ring about his new best friend, Samoa Joe. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, this was fine. I mean, here's the thing is that the Kingdom are not a bad tag team. That's the thing is that I think they're very good. Bit of an enhancement match here. The Iron Savages are still extremely off-putting to me. I don't like it. I think it's just off-putting. Doesn't connect with me. And then after the match, Roderick Strong hops out of his wheelchair and attacks the Iron Savages. Let's keep it moving. Ethan Page. Ethan Page is backstage with Lexi Nair. He says he's on a roll because he's winning in Ring of Honor, so he feels confident in challenging another Canadian for a match in Canada this upcoming week, which is Kenny Omega. Because we're Canadians and we're fighting in Montreal. And, you've got a guy from Ontario, you got a guy from Manitoba that we're going to fight in Quebec. Quebec and the rest of Canada. At least there's no one from Alberta. Then you'd be tuning out a lot of Montrealers here. At the very least, they have to do something with 2.0, right? They have to get Daddy Magic out there to at least do something. Like, I know they're going to try and put as many Canadians as they can. The Canadian main event with Christian and Adam Copeland. But, it's great because, look, I don't want to get into the geopolitical thing. But, Quebec's relationship with the rest of Canada is, at best times tense. Cool. No, at best times cool. Overall, So, you want to if you want people to pop hard for the Canadian boys, you got to put Matt Menard on TV. You have to put Angelo, but particularly Matt. Look, get Stu in here. Stu Grayson. These, we know our boys and girls. We support our local guys and gals. Anyway, so we'll be getting Ethan Page and Kenny Omega. That'll be interesting. I'll be interested to see how this goes. The House of Black defeated Matt Sydal and Christopher Daniels on my Collision. They let him in. For what this was, I thought this was very good. I thought this was a lot of fun. Sydal, of course, looks great. Like, for a guy who's always destined to lose, he works the hardest. What was it? It was at the All-Star Junior match, right? This year. Can't remember who he was in with. He was in a multi-man match. I think he was in there with El Desperado and Shun Skywalker. And there was a couple of other people. And he was just working the hardest out of everyone. Skywalker could barely be bothered, while Sydal is flying all over the place in a losing effort. You can't take away that from Matt Sydal. He just, every time he shows up, he does his best shit and he loses. But there's a tremendous sequence at some point. There's a Norihara moonsault by Malakai Black and a tremendous sequence where Matt Sydal is in control of Malakai as well. Just great stuff. Strikes and a curb stomp by Buddy Matthews, followed by a black mass by Malakai Black. I know we're not supposed to call it the black mass anymore. We're supposed to call it the end, which is a reference to Tom End, I guess. Sure. Look, I'm completely okay with more House of Black on TV. They're over. People really like them, and I really like them, and they're great wrestlers. That's the thing. You know, and I know the gothic imagery puts off some people, but like they're not playing into the fact that they have spooky supernatural powers. They're not like, you know, levitating and teleporting. Well, they do the teleportation gimmick, I think, but are they really teleporting? Lights go off after this match. Hey, by the way, listen, moratorium on lights going off and people appearing in the ring. I think AEW does it way too fucking much. Like we did it with Julia Hart tonight. We did it with the rest of the House of... Now, I understand it's the House of Black's thing, but FTR did it, because it's kind of like the House of Black. So I'm like, now there's no more impact to that, right? There's just... And this week we did it with the Devil, you know, when PBS's Ghost Rider appeared. PBS Kids Ghost Rider. Ghost Writer, not writer. Ghost Rider is another thing. It's a DC Marvel comic. Jesus fucking Christ, Warren, get your shit together. Johnny Blaze, right? No, Johnny Blaze is no. That's Human Torch, right? Oh, no, I'm right. It is the Ghost Rider. Well, hang on. What's Human Torch's name? So I was right. Okay, so I was right. But then I'm like, hang on. So the Human Torch is Sue Storm's. It's Sue Storm's brother. So it should be Johnny Storm, right? That's right. Yeah, okay, there you go. I had to just connect my dots here. Sue Storm, Invisible Woman, Fantastic Four, right? And anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm just glad I got my reference right. Johnny Storm is Johnny Blaze. Johnny Blaze is the Ghost Rider because his skull is ablaze. See, that was destiny. You can't have a last name like Blaze and not have some kind of destiny related to fire. You know what I mean? It's just impossible. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, lights going out. Moratorium, or at least just do it for the fucking House of Black stuff, and that's it. Because now it's just like, again. Because this is what it feels like now. This is what it feels like now. It's like, again. I'm sick of it. Anyway, the lights do go out, but then FTR's theme starts. And I'm like, okay, what was the point? Or was it just a production glitch? Anyway, FTR get to the ring. Malakai's on the mic. Something about joining the House of Black. Anyway, FTR get the shit beat out of each other, out of them. And Tommy End was on point with his black masses. Holy shit. Like Christopher Daniels' lower jaw unhinged, I'm sure, from the black mass, and Dax ate it. Was it Dax who ate it, or was it or Cash? No, they both did. And Cash ate a standing one, and Dax was kneeling for it. There you go. Anyway, a good little match for an enhancement match, essentially. Tony Storm cuts a promo in black and white saying that people pay attention to Sky Blue. The only time people pay attention to Sky Blue is when they're taking pictures of her butt. Then we get Sky Blue responding with a backstage promo later on saying that Tony Storm is in a midlife crisis, and it's a very basic promo. Why are we insisting on pushing Sky Blue? Willow Nightingale is right there. And she has the crowd connection, and people really like her. And she's a tremendous worker. There's so much more upside. I don't understand it. You know, there was a lot of talk this week about Mercedes Moné, and that she might end up back in WWE, right? Despite it all, right? Which is possible. And frankly, I think it's something that was possible from the start. It all made sense. And now that Vince is gone, one would assume she has a better relationship with Triple H. It was NXT was in a very critical time back then when Sasha was around. And anyway. So there's a lot of talk about she might be going back. And people are like, whoa, AEW. Look at the state of the women's division in AEW. You're Mercedes Moné, and you're a smart cookie. Look at the state of this division. I'd think about it twice before jumping in. And Tony can add as many zeros to the end of his deal with her as he wants. But as we like to say when it comes to people not deciding to join the WWE, not everything is about the money. And maybe someone like Mercedes would be a tremendous boon to the division and maybe is what it needs. But I don't have faith in the perception of the women's division within the company itself. So if Mercedes goes back to WWE, I'm like, sure. Why wouldn't she? She did her trip around the world. She wrestled in Japan. She did the stuff she wanted to do outside. Maybe it's like, okay, time to let's hunker back down. I got it out of my system. It could be just as simple as that. AEW, I don't want to go there. It's shit. The women's division is putrid. And it is. It's not great. The way it's presented. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about the talent. I'm talking about its presentation. It's not good. Then we got El Hijo del Vikingo defeating Kip Sabian in a, what were they saying throughout the evening? Oh, we'll have some additional matches if we have time, right? I kind of like that. See, it's the kind of little thing that, when we're talking about the sports presentation, right? The sports-based presentation of AEW. And for some reason, people instantly think, no more stories. That's what it means. They don't want stories anymore. No, look, this is a story. You're telling the story of your sports-based promotion. Where it's like, look, matches can go on shorter and longer. And if we have time, we'll have some additional matches for you. If we have time. And that's just a little thing. It's insignificant, I know. But you throw it in there and you're like, this is pretty cool. That's a nice little tidbit here. And for what this was, I thought this was really good. Vikingo did some tremendous shit again. That second rope Phoenix splash inside out. Like from disgusting. Disgusting how great that was. And I'm like, Jesus. And Kip is perfect for this. Kip is absolutely perfect for this. Who cares if Kip Sabian wins or loses? In fact, I'd be more offended if Kip Sabian had won here. He's a J-Brone, and I'm sure he's content with that. Not everyone can be a superstar, and you cannot book only superstars in your promotion. That's just not how it works. And finally, the Luchadors get a win on AEW, and now you gotta get behind that. If they can only do that to Comandar now moving forward. But Vikingo, tremendous stuff. Guys, that tornillo kick that he does is amazing. Springboard tornillo to the floor. 630 senton. What more do you want out of this guy? Tremendous showcase match. Then Lexi Nair is backstage again with Keith Lee asking him, hey, so you talked about him last week, that you had unfinished business with him or that you were coming after him. Who's him? And just before, here's another thing that happened a lot tonight. Interrupting interviews. Like that's a very WWE thing. Moratorium on that as well. Get creative. Find other ways to do this shit. Come on now. Lexi Nair. She's standing there. She's trying to conduct her interview. And then fucking Shane Taylor comes in with Lee Moriarty. Before Keith Lee can give us the answer, and Shane Taylor challenges Keith Lee to a match at Final Battle of the Ring of Honor show that's coming up in a couple of weeks, which surprise, is not selling well. This segment happened. And then CJ Perry is being interviewed outside of Andrade's locker room. Miro shows up to burst into the locker room. She keeps him at bay. I don't care. I don't care. I'm pretty sure if you go back and you listen to my audio when Miro first joined, and people were saying, oh, when is Lana going to come? Lana. It's like, why do we have to rehash these things? Why couldn't we just be trying to do new things? And I think Miro, overall, it's been far from perfect, but Miro is so much more interesting away from Lana and trying to recoup whatever they had in WWE. Again, I get it. It's hard you could not address it because the lore of AEW is the lore of pro wrestling. So you could not address it. I'm comfortable with that. But does he have to be involved in this angle? Is this what Andrade, is this the payoff? Miro versus Andrade? I don't know if I'm excited about that. And over what? Over CJ Perry? I don't know. But I don't care. Just have Miro go out and beat people up. The fans, they love the Miro. Give them what they want. And then the main event, which we already talked about, was tremendous, was great. Good episode, very good episode of Collision. Carried by the Continental Classic. Don't get it all skewed. The C2 made this episode of Dynamite tremendous. So there you have it. Did I say Dynamite? This episode of Collision tremendous. And I hope, the C2 made my episode of this Collision review tremendous as well. If it did, leave a like and reviews and ratings and so on and so forth. I will be back Tuesday for the live recording of the Mr. Warren Hayes show right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. You can come and join us live. We start at 7 p.m. Eastern. Otherwise, listen, you can catch it on demand the next day. And then the Dynamite review on Thursday, which might be an on-site. I'm still debating as to whether I'm going to go, and it'll depend on the weather as well. Mostly, but I'm still thinking about making the drive up to Montreal to do it. It's not that far, but yeah, I just might pull that off. We'll see. But hey, you know what? In the meantime, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. I'll see you next time.